Good afternoon, class. I'm going to go over the 1102 syllabus to just touch on some minor points. You will want to acquaint with the syllabus yourself. Make sure that you read it. In particular, make sure you read the schedule because it will let you know when the assignments are released as well as when they are due. So a couple of things. The best way to get in contact with me is by my school email address, which is listed on the syllabus. I'm not going to give it out over YouTube for obvious reasons. That is the easiest way to contact me. I do check the Blackboard messaging system. However, it is difficult for me to access Blackboard from a mobile device, which I often use. So the best way to do it is with email. I check my email several thousand times a day, so I should be able to field any questions you have by email very simply. There's also a phone number on there that's Google Voice phone number. I'm not having actual physical office hours, as you may well have guessed, because of the pandemic. So if you want to set up some sort of communication with me, you can either use email, phone, or we can also do something called a collaborate session, which is a feature that is available in Blackboard, where we can basically do like a video conference sort of thing, and you can get multiple students, and we can actually have class that way, but we'll save that stuff for later. So there is no textbook for this class. All of the materials are provided in Blackboard. They are up currently. You can find them in the lessons folder. Just click around. You should be able to find the folder with the stuff in it. My late work policy is I generally do not take late work if it is a discussion or a pre-writing, but I will take a late essay for 10 points a day. So that's not nothing. You really want to make sure you try to get stuff in on time, but if you do miss a major essay, a major writing assignment, it's 10 points a day, and that is a policy for late and makeup work. The only way that I would let you do makeup work or late assignments or something is if you had some sort of extraneous circumstance that was clearly keeping you from performing your duties as a student appropriately. And you guys know what that means. That means like death in the family, serious illness, other kinds of accidents or happenings that might qualify you for some leniency in that effect. The main thing is that you communicate with me, right? Because I am much more likely to work with you over issues that arise if you communicate with me than if you come up to me the day that grades are due and say, hey, can I get some leniency? More than likely I'll say no. Okay. So we are doing 3 units. I like to start with the poetry unit, which is a little uncharacteristic of most 1102 classes. Most 1102 classes start with fiction, but I'm going to start with poetry. We're going to be looking over 2 poets, only 2 because we've only got 8 weeks. And those poets are going to be William Blake, who is one of my favorites, and then my other favorite poet, who is Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Both of these gentlemen are romantic poets with a capital R. Now, that doesn't mean lovey-dovey, roses are red, violets are blue, gee golly gosh, I sure do love you. That means they are part of the romantic genre, which comes with a certain set of understandings that I'm going to go over in a later video. Okay, so we will go over the romantic poets first. Your first essay will be on one of the 2 romantic poets that I have provided you. You will want to make an argument about their poetry, and of course we'll talk more about that later. We also have the drama unit. The drama unit is, theatre, that sort of thing. And we are going to be looking at Hamlet. We're going to watch Hamlet. We're not going to read it. Reading Hamlet takes forever. But watching it, it only takes about 3 hours, which isn't nothing. So I provided a link to a version of Hamlet. You could really watch any version of Hamlet that you wanted as long as it was actually Hamlet and not some weird avant-garde rendition that's come out recently that isn't the actual play. But you can definitely watch a different version of Hamlet. There's one with Mel Gibson that's really good that you'd probably have to pay for, but the one that I have linked in the syllabus is just available on YouTube. So we're going to look at Hamlet, and then we're going to look at a gentleman named Tom Stoppard, who is a figure in the movement called the Theater of the Absurd. Theater of the absurd is like taking the general premises of theater and mixing them with absurdity and weirdness. So this guy in particular, he did 2 plays called The 15-Minute Hamlet, which we're going to read. And it's funny because you take this 3-hour play and you condense it into 15 minutes, and so the humor arises out of that process. And then we're also going to look at Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which is a sort of a parody play on Hamlet that's done from the perspective of Hamlet's 2 ne'er-do-well friends who are known as Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. So we're going to look at that. That's for the drama unit. And then our final unit will be fiction, and we're going to look at Chuck Palahniuk's Fight Club, which is a very controversial novel And I do want to make one statement about the materials themselves. Some of the materials that I show you in this class may bother you for whatever reason. You must understand that I have a wide array of students. Every student has a different sort of set of beliefs, different set of opinions. It's impossible to teach a literary class without offending someone. That being said, there are some texts, particularly Fight Club, which are very kind of offensive and sort of in your face, and it may bother you. I'm giving a warning for that right now, and I understand those sentiments. However, no content will be dismissed on the basis of moral objection. Okay, so if you're in the class, you're in it for the long haul, and you're going to read all the materials that I give you. Okay, and that's just the way it is. So those are the 3 units. The grade breakdown is another thing that I want to address. I had these fancy little index cards, but I don't know what I did with them. So basically, I'll just go over the grade breakdown. 60% of the final grade is essays, out-of-class essays. There are 1,000 words. They must be in MLA format. If you took an 1101 composition course, you know the drill. You know the 3-page essay, okay? We got 3 of those. They're 60% of the final grade, 20% each. You really want to make sure you turn those in, okay? The other 20%, another 20% is for discussions. There will be 1 discussion a week. You can find the discussions. I will release them on Sunday night. You can find them in Blackboard. And 1 discussion a week, you'll have to respond to people. You want to make sure that you do the discussions with, in a timely manner, because a lot of the times if you wait to the last minute, we don't have the kind of class interaction, comments on each other's discussions that we need, especially given the fact that this is an online class. And so we have to make up for the missing class time somehow. Discussions are a great way to do it. 20% of the final grade is discussion. The final 20% of the grade is for pre-writing. There are 3 pre-writings associated with your final essay. So these are weighted fairly heavily. Pre-writing is basically like an essay outline, and I will send out a template for you for the pre-writing. I'm going to need your thesis, your topic sentences, quotes that you're going to use, citations that you're going to use, that kind of thing. So I will send that out, and you will know in advance what that entails. Okay, so that's another 20%. And that is it. We have 8 weeks. That's not a lot of time. 8 weeks to write 3 essays and to read quite a bit of stuff. So you want to go ahead and get started. If you want to get started on the class, go ahead and start reading the poetry packet in Blackboard, which contains the poems of William Blake and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. You're going to see that it's like 70-something pages long, and you're going to freak out, but the poems actually read pretty fast. You should be able to get through it fairly easily. I will be releasing videos to supplement lecture time in class. So you really need to keep an eye out for this stuff. Now, I don't have all this stuff created in advance. I'm making it as I go. So I will require some patience for you in that regard. But ultimately, I think it is better for us because it keeps me interested and you interested. And I'm doing some things that are different than the way it's laid out. But that's probably for the best. I mean, it's better that I teach my way than to try to, adapt to someone else's style, okay? So if you could just be patient with that and keep an eye on the YouTube, I will give you some lectures. The first lecture we're going to go over is about poetry, how to read poetry, and then also romantic poetry as a genre. And you guys know what genre means. Typically, you think genres of music. You guys all know that pretty well. But we'll talk about what genre means in terms of poetry, and then we'll talk about the romantic genre with a capital R and what that means. And then we'll move into William Blake and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, which I hope you enjoy. So thanks very much for checking this video out. Keep an eye out for what's to come. See you later.